You're someone, and I say this all the time to you, but more so probably about you, is that don't allow the light that's shining on you to dim the light that's inside of you.
All the systems that we have to exist within right now anyways, but understanding that they're crap and that they need to be broken up, and what can I do? I'll just never be that person who just sits on the sideline.
Welcome to a new episode of Now with Natalie. I am your host, Natalie Manuel Lee. I am thrilled about today's episode, y'all. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine and truly the GOAT in the fashion industry. It is none other than Karla Welch. She is one of the most powerful stylists of this generation. Her creativity is a gift to us all. She has co-founded two companies, the Period Company and the Wishy. Her resume is stellar, y'all, but it doesn't compare to the human that she is. She is loyal, consistent, and uses her voice for good. She speaks up for the marginalized. She is a bridge, and she gives a voice to the voiceless. She is a true force. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend, Karla Welch.
I'm so excited and happy we're doing this.
I'm so honored to be here. It's about time you asked. I mean, TBH.
It's about time. You are prolific. You're one of one. You are, I would say, the GOAT in the wardrobe styling industry. Your art and creativity is a gift to the world, where it has landed you on celebrities such as Justin and Hailey Bieber, Olivia Wilde, Tracy Ellis Ross, Matt Damon, and the list goes on and on. You founded two companies, the Wishy Company and the Period Company. Your resume is stellar, but it does not hold a candle to the woman that you are. Truly. You are
thanks, Nat.
Truly a loyal, constant friend. You are someone that uses their platform for good. You are the voice for voiceless. You speak up for the marginalized. And you are just overall one of one. And so I'm honored, humbled, and excited to be sitting with you today.
After that intro, I feel like I could just walk and leave and be
And
like,
we're done.
Thank you so much. No, I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. So let's take it back.
Okay.
When did you know that wardrobe styling was a purpose and a call that you were to fulfill in your life?
Ooh. Let me think. Well, I was one of those kids who was obsessed with my dolls and my Barbies. And I think in my mind, I always wanted to be a fashion designer. And there was this great show growing up. So I grew up in a really small town in Canada. I went to like Catholic school, had to wear a uniform. So like expression through clothes on the days you weren't in school was so big to me, even though we didn't have a lot of money and we just like, but I really loved my outfits. And then there was this great show on CBC, which is Canada's national channel, called Fashion File. And there was this gentleman named Tim Blanks, and he was a fashion editor, and he really explained fashion in a way that wasn't a soundbite maybe like you get today. It was like thoughtful, and I was just madly in love with the glamour of it all, seeing the designers, seeing the models. And in my heart, I thought, that's the world that I would love to be a part of. And of course, you know, if you know my story a little bit, my father had a clothing store, and I got to work with him my whole life. I don't know that was his passion, but I certainly learned a lot. I learned, of course, about clothes, but I think I learned about service and the relentlessness that it takes to have your own business. My work ethic comes from both of my parents, but seeing my dad work day in, day out at a store, and then he'd have another job after sometimes as well, was just kind of set me on my path. And then I took a detour into the restaurant business, which I loved. But then I kind of knew that I would always end up back. And in terms of like that it fulfilled some purpose, I actually think that everything I've done has fulfilled kind of my purpose and got to me where I am today. Like I don't look at at any time as wasted, because I'm like, oh, I got that from that, and I got this from that. And even it was working at this coffee shop I used to work at, I just loved that job so much. So, you know,
How do you
here I
feel
am.
like, I love that you underline that, because I think so many times we feel like even if it's not the thing, I believe that it's the thing leading to the thing. And
Me
a lot of
too.
people are like, well, I'm not there yet. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing that. I want to just get there. How do you feel like the season that you were in at the coffee shop allowed you to be successful today?
Well, I think of all the skills I learned.
Yeah.
You learn if you've never, and I also learned the skills that I will recognize in others to have them join my team. If you've ever worked at a coffee shop, I will probably hire you because you understand so much about service, right?
Come on.
I think that's the key in my life, to be honest, even where I am now with fashion, as exciting as it is, I understand I'm in the service business.
Yeah.
And so it's that learning skills of how to work with others, efficiency,
Yeah.
put a smile on your face, and just kind of liking where you're at each step has been really, really a key to my success.
That's so good. So in the fashion world, I believe that resistance could be right there next to us constantly, is kind
Sure.
of one of those things that is either driving the plane or is right next to us. And I know that resistance can come up in different forms, whether it's self-doubt or if it's resistance from you wanting to pull a dress for the Oscars and you can't get it.
Right.
Or if it's resistance from a client actually wearing something that you both chose and then the next day they're like, I don't want it anymore. I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I believe in anything that we do, but especially in entrepreneurship, that it's not resistance that stops us. It's the way that we respond to the resistance that stops us.
For sure.
So what is your relationship like with resistance and what is your approach to it?
Natalie, you know what? It's there's so much in that question, and there's so many ways to respond. And I think that you have to have a lot of grace and you have to give a lot of grace.
That's good.
When you're working with celebrities and you're working with people who I'm behind the scenes, right? But I work with people who are in an industry that is often defined by how they look.
Yeah.
For better or worse, where I think it should be defined. And I've made a career of picking people and working with people and people who choose me who have a certain talent that they're not the most obvious movie star choice, right? And so you're fighting this machine, as we all are in every kind of aspect of our life of like, am I thin enough? Am I young enough? Am I beautiful enough? And all that. And I think when you come to me, we kind of throw that nonsense out the window. And so I'll have grace when someone comes to me and Monday quarterbacks it, right? Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
What's Monday quarterbacks?
Like there's always everybody's the winning coach on a Monday after the game on Sunday, right? Because there's if you thrown it there, he caught it, then you won the game.
Yes.
But you're still in the game.
Right.
You know? So I try to, before I could really react if someone was like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And this honestly doesn't happen that much to me.
Right.
I can say with confidence, but I try to have a great deal of empathy for the people who I work with and understand that it's not about me or the dress we picked, and sometimes it's about them. And so how can I approach them with kindness and with love and be like, well, you know what, did you feel great?
Right.
Okay, yeah, I felt great. Then we don't really have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's mistakes, and I think I have this expression in part of my language, but sometimes you got to eat shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want to hear I'm sorry, even if you aren't sorry.
Yeah.
And it can go a long way.
Yeah. How do you bounce back from that if they don't even give you any of those things?
I might not work with them.
Really?
Well, because I really want my life and my team's life now at this point in my career to be as joyful as possible.
Right.
Because we are in a workplace that is a grind and a business that's a grind. So if I'm not making someone feel great, then I want them to go find someone who's going to make them feel great.
Yeah.
Because I want to feel great too. I don't want to be your punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, this is a question for all of the inspiring or aspiring wardrobe stylists out there that have a desire to be where you are in your career, do you believe that it more so leans on their skill set or their gifting or both?
Define gifting for me.
That they have an eye.
Right? I think it's a total combination. I think if you want to go in the way that I work with celebrities in that, it's a skill set too. It's both. It's having the confidence to work with someone, develop an identity, and then it's the pure logistics of like, you might not get a day off for 35 days in a row.
Yeah.
So there's a real grind, and it's not an industry that I see changing in a way where like you're going to have better hours, because that's just not how the entertainment cycle works. So I think it's like equal parts understanding fashion, but also knowing you have to know how to kind of run a business too. And you have to be like relentless.
Yeah. So what do you believe the 3 non-negotiables are?
Ooh.
To be a successful stylist, non-negotiables.
You have to be kind to everybody you work with. You have to gain your clients' trust. And you have to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
And you have to be and you have to be organized. Like, you have to build a great team. There's more than 3 things, I think. What makes me successful? I think that you have to pursue excellence.
Yeah, that's good.
And being really above the board. You know, there's a lot of people come in and, are full of, are a little like BS-y. But if you just stay focused, be in love with what you're doing, you'll get there.
Yeah. Switching gears a bit, your 2 companies, Period Company and The Wishy, and we'll get into a little bit about that in a second. But I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I think we don't realize that it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur.
You're crazy.
First. You're crazy. Yeah. All the arduous ups and downs, the uphill battles, the pivots, the constant being on your toes. And I believe one of the biggest pillars that we need is mental fortitude, is our mental health, having a healthy mental life. I know for me that whatever we think, the way that we think is the way of our life. So if we're thinking thoughts of living in the wilderness, well, we will stay in a wilderness season. If we're thinking thoughts of optimism, we will then go forth and have an optimistic life. What is your approach, and how do you keep your mind healthy when the doubts creep in, when you're like, am I supposed to still be doing this? Like, how do you sustain the vision that God has given you for these companies when there's days where it's dark and there's dark clouds above you?
All those things.
All of them.
All of them. And I'm going to say something so ridiculous, but like, I am so clear. I've always been so clear. And I wasn't anybody who excelled like at school or anything. Like, my parents must just look at me today and just be like, wow, what happened? Because that girl was not that girl. But I always just have this real clarity of a path. And it's work. And I'm a really stubborn optimist. I just think, yep, that's how it's going to be. And I've always had this, and maybe it's a God-given gift. I'm sure that's what you will believe it. You will say that it is, and you're right. And but that I've always had this path that I've been able to flow in. And so I think flow is a huge thing for me. Like, I have always had the ability. You can't fight a river.
Oof,
you gotta flow with the river, right? And everything in nature flows.
Come on.
Humanity, we're the ones, like, animals do not flow, right? They're not trying to achieve, well, maybe my dog's in a ball, of course, but like, humans are the only people who kind of fight against nature. And I realize that I'm not in the center of nature, and that I am part of everything on this planet. For me, I'm in heaven already, right? Because here I am on this creation of earth. And so I think that realizing how connected I am to everything, and if I can mimic those qualities and just kind of go with the flow. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I have an amazing husband, Matthew, and he takes on all the stress of great. Yeah, he's great. And do I wake up and look at the numbers for Period? Of course I do. And I'm like, but I've worked hard at also realizing that I can just, like, if I'm so prepared, if I work so hard, I can make these things happen. Yeah. But I do think that there's something I have that's a little magical. Yeah. And I don't know how to articulate what it is, but I think it is that clarity of purpose, and that I can see where I'm going. And I have purpose about a few things in life, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. I think that's, I'm an optimist. You have to be optimistic if you're going to be in business. Like the grind is crazy, but I also am a person who can take on a lot. I can carry a lot kind of easily. Because that's the bare minimum. I don't think there's anything special about I'll acknowledge I have privilege, right? Of course. And moving to America and really seeing all the systems that we have to exist within right now anyways, but understanding that they're crap and that they need to be broken up, and what can I do?
How do you explain to somebody when you know your vision's clear? How do you know it's clear, and how do you know that it's your vision? Because yes, you're a stubborn optimist, but how can you distinguish between?
Because how it makes me feel inside.
There it is.
I think I'm so tapped to my instincts, and just like you were the first person I told about the period company, and your sister and we were there, and it was like, your why's got to make you cry.
Yeah.
So I think, oh, am I excited about this? Then I'm going to do it. And so I approach a lot of things in that way now. Am I excited about this person? Am I excited about this opportunity? If it's not giving me the feels, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But that took a long time to get to. And I had to say yes to a lot of things that should have been no's, because I was providing for my family and I was building a career. It took me 15 years in the styling world of just saying yes, 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 because I needed to provide.
Right.
And that's the path I chose. It's not right or wrong. Like sometimes I could have said no a little bit more, of course, but
Right.
So I think it's that, and I think it's that excitement about something. And to be honest, I think when I look back at my life from where I sit right now, everything's gotten me to where I am right now to do period.
Give me that. Take me there. How? And I want you to kind of dissect your why for period. I do want you to underscore that for people that are watching.
Yeah, so the period company is the sustainable period company. Like, did I ever in my right mind think that I would be going from like fashions to talking to people around the world about their periods, like men, boys, girls, women, people who period, all of them. They're all part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But I had this kind of epiphany of like, I know what I need to do. And what fuels a lot of it is that 80% of people who period in the world often go without products. And it's this it's a human rights crisis. And I just feel, and there's no I in it. That's the interesting thing. I'm a vessel to help in this.
Come on.
In this, right? I'm not doing it so it's like, I want to end period poverty. No. But I'm offering a solution.
Yeah. Because
if you give somebody period products, and for anybody listening who doesn't know what period poverty is, it's, not having access to safe, accessible care. So every month you get your period, you have no products. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it's awful.
You couldn't imagine. The worst thing that happens to you or I, we can't find a product. And at the same time, there's the sustainability aspect of it, that plastic products are horrible for the environment and they don't go anywhere. So I actually came at it with a sustainability lens, but was very quickly pivoted. We quickly pivoted to know that if you're not having a period product, you're not going to school, you're not going to work, your life is in this shame cycle. And so the bare minimum, so we have started out at the mission side of our business, where we work with organizations around the globe to provide care. We've given away more than 1 million pairs to date. Wow. And, we're working on a very huge initiative right now to try to give access to 1 million girls in the next year.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's amazing, because the bare minimum you're giving them is dignity.
Come on.
Yeah, the bare minimum, that's the win. Because I can't even possibly explain to people what you would feel like if 5 days every month you couldn't provide for yourself.
Yeah.
And we're offering them care that lasts for like 8 years.
Yeah.
So think about that girl or that woman. Okay, she feels better about herself.
Yeah.
She gets to go to school.
Yeah.
She doesn't miss out days. Yeah. And goes to work. So just the impact on our globe and on the rights of women and girls in the world from having this basic need met,
Yeah.
it's huge. The economics of countries depend on women going to work, but economic power for a woman means she has more power in her household. Yep. She contributes greater to her communities. It's like, it's the basis
Domino
from what
effect.
everything, it's the domino effect. So, okay, so then backtrack to what you actually asked me. So that's the period company. So I feel like through my work with celebrities and in fashion, I'd been given this incredible platform, and I'd also been given these incredible friends and supporters who are clients. So Sasha, my business partner, my co-founder, who's this amazing woman, her and I created this company and just talking about reducing stigma and just this new idea, like what if your period is a superpower? Because it is, right? It does a lot for, but we don't talk about it in these ways. But all of a sudden we have all the people I've worked with for the last 20 years amplifying it. And then all of a sudden the journalists I work with are writing about it. So we instantly went from this bonus of all my work that got me to this point paying off, right? Like the deposits in the bank, I got to withdraw, as Angela will say to us,
That's so good.
And so we instantly got to amplify this company for no money, right? So it's like, and I just feel like now I can do such bigger things to help people because of everything I did here. And I still love all of this and I'm always going to do it. But like my purpose in life is to really help change the way the world periods and help change the world for people who period.
And that is so beautiful. And it takes me to, you're someone, and I say this all the time to you, but more so probably about you, is that the light that is shining on you, don't allow the light that's shining on you to dim the light that's inside of you. And so the light that comes to you, you are been on global stages, you have a big stage within itself. God has given you a huge platform, but you've done counterculture and you've actually sustained the light that is within you and are serving other people and bringing them to the stage that you have.
Yeah.
What do you believe the guiding principle is that you're anchored in that is allowing your light to continue to shine?
Well, I just think it's just not fair out there.
Yeah.
And I have a real bone to pick with that, Like and I think it comes from my mom. I think that we just always have, like, I remember once my brothers were trying to kill frogs at our cabin when we were little. And I was so upset by it that I got in the water and I tread water for my mom was like, you were there for hours because your brothers weren't allowed to take their BB guns out and try to kill the frogs because you were in they didn't want them to hit me. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Because that's the bare minimum. I don't think there's anything special about using. I'll acknowledge I have privilege, right? Of course. And moving to America and really seeing all the systems that we have to exist within right now anyways, but understanding that they're crap and that they need to be broken up and what can I do?
Yeah.
I'll just never be that person who just sits on the sideline. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nope.
But wait, at your dinner, you did tell me there was a moment in your life where, or it was it felt like it was a defining moment where you found your voice and you were speaking up. Something happened.
You want
with
that story?
I do want
oh
that
my
story.
Gosh.
I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I went to Catholic school and you know me, I have pretty much a lot of systems of power I just I'm not down with. Abusive power to me there's no surprise.
Yeah.
And it happens quite often in religious institutions. And it was our grade 5 camping trip. And all the older kids were like, oh, Capilano, that guy's a real pedophile. So they already knew. And we went to this camp and the gentleman who was running the camp was going after the boys. And it was obvious. And we actually had an amazing teacher that year, grade 5. I won't even say her name. It's not worth it. But all the kids said, we need to talk to you because we were going to just tell the adult.
Yeah.
Because, that's what you do. You tell the adult. And I happened to be the kid who said it out loud. Mm-hmm. And man, I got in so much trouble. I had to go and say the rosary. And I was like, I'm not saying the rosary. Y'all, you know what I mean? Like the nun pulled me aside. And then when we got back to the school, it's so amazing to look back at it because it's like really the system of silencing people.
Yeah.
Where they called our parents and they're like, we're going to kick you out of the school. They're promiscuous. Promiscuous? I couldn't even spell that word. Yeah, like in grade 5, I was not interested in boys. Like how dare they?
Yeah.
And I think they silenced us from even telling our parents. But I think deep down my parents maybe knew because they were like, what? And I was like, this isn't fair. Mm. And so I have a real chip on my, it's not a chip on, they put the chip on my shoulder. It's not of like, I'll own up to anything. If I'm wrong, I'm going to own up to it. But you accused me of something that is on you. How dare you?
Yeah.
And I remember just that burn as a child. Yep. And so I have a real healthy distrust of systems and a lot of people. And so I'm like, and then that person called to apologize years later. My dad was like, she doesn't need it.
And the reason why I wanted you to really expose that is not necessarily to expose those institutions, but the reality is those dark moments, you know, in your life has now gotten you to where you are fighting for justice on a huge global stage.
Sure.
You know, which I think is who you are.
Sure, I could have done without that, but that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, we all could have.
We all can. Yeah, and also I just think, I don't know, I think a lot of these people who say they're for Jesus just aren't. I think he'd be pretty ashamed of a lot of you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and totally. I try to live my life by leaders who I've always looked at as inspiration. Like I love a hero's journey, but it is ultimately about, I believe so deeply in service.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's my service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It for sure is. It's part of who you are.
Yeah. And I don't mind getting in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. You know, that's my privilege, right? Is that I can get in a little bit of trouble.
And you use it for good.
Yeah. I'm going to spend it all.
Right.
What I've really identified is knowing that there's not a competition. You know what I mean? Or a little professional like jealousy of like, oh, when's it going to happen for me? And just being like, I'm really in my own lane here. I think it's like that kind of knowing to thyself be true, you know, like really knowing who I am as a person, feeling my own sense of fulfillment, not from work.
Switching gears a bit. Tell me about who the Karla was maybe 10, 15 years ago, and then who the Karla is today. And the reason why I ask is because I feel like we all want to get to this big pinnacle moment in our careers. We want to be successful, but we don't realize that the success that we're aiming for, our character has to line up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we work, but we don't work on the personal development. We don't work on the self-evolution. Sure. We don't work on those things. And so what do you feel like you had to undo or unbecome to get to where you are today?
I mean, I think I'm pretty the same, to be honest. I think I'm the same kid I was like when I was 5. But I will say what I've really identified is knowing that there's not a competition. It's not a competition. You know what I mean? Or a little professional like jealousy of like, oh, when's it going to happen for me? And just being like, I'm really in my own lane here. Yeah. You know? And I think it's like that kind of knowing to thyself be true, you know, like really knowing who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Feeling my own sense of fulfillment, not from work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a
big
tough
one. Not sense of fulfillment, not from work.
Not from work.
How'd you get there? That's hard because we our identity and our value can be steeped in a lot of what we do.
Well, and like work can be life too, right? Yeah. And which I love, and art can be work, and it's all. I just think it's all. Like I said to you, I said the other day, like I love and I'm loved. And that is so incredible.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that for everybody. And yeah, this is like a bit of a stump. I want to go
I
feel like a sense of calm,
yeah.
you know, where maybe I didn't have that before.
The
And
competition is big.
The competition
and
is
the professional
big.
jealousy is huge.
Professional gel. Okay, fine. So those are my answers. Yeah.
But I need you to go back though. How did you undo that? Because that's a real, especially in the styling world. It's
Yeah.
like it's a constant competition. You're constantly looking at results. You're constantly, you know, and then the jealousy thing, we don't want that. We don't want
that's
life
a terrible.
of comparison.
That's like a
yeah.
That's
so how did you undo that?
Well, I think I understood all of a sudden that like your community and your form of like a lot of your mentors and your heroes might be sitting right beside you.
Oof.
So that was a huge one for me because I don't think my generation of stylists and maybe young like business women had a ton of mentors. I think there's tons of mentors and for male founders for this and that. But for me, and also I'll say about myself is that I'm a pretty insular person. Like I'm pretty solitary. I have a small circle and I've always been that way. And I don't know, it's because I was like the youngest of 4 kids and my mom kept us that was our little gang. You know, our family was our people, which was like, you know, I love a bigger circle too, but I think that knowing like, and that's something I'm working on now. Oh, how can I build a bigger community? And there's a shyness element too, like walking into a room and being like, oh God, I don't know who I can talk to there. And then you realize, oh, maybe everybody else feels the same way.
Yeah.
So I think something just clicked where I'm like, and it didn't have what was amazing, I thought it would all click when I reached a certain level. But it doesn't click when you reach a certain level. It clicks when you reach a certain level.
Come on.
Yeah, so that's it. And where I'm like, I'd rather cheer for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So that part too, instead of being like, why didn't I get picked? Because I wasn't the person for it, or maybe it'll come back. And I think when I realized, I'm doing great on my own, and that's, I don't know. It's that though, you know what I mean? Like it's like getting rid of, like realizing jealousy doesn't serve, realizing like you can learn so much from each other and that we're building our own tables and how can I help others?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's who you are.
Oh.
So what season do you believe you're in?
The best one. Mm-hmm. Always.
What did you embark on just recently?
Well, the period company's pretty new, so that's kind of it. You know, my son is 18 now, so just making sure he's got a good foundation to like go on his way.
Yeah. Go,
ciao, bye. Get out. No.
I want to go back, and then we're going to wrap up soon, but I want to go back to the styling perspective. I think I would love for you to kind of give people, what is the connection point to your external style with who you are internally?
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think clothes are such a powerful tool. Not in a, like, I don't care about what the hip shoe is or this and that.
Yeah.
I care of like, how does it make you feel? And do you feel like you can go out into the world and be the best version of yourself, or at least help a little bit? Like we all need our tricks, right?
Yes.
Like, sure, we don't need anything to kind of show the world who we are, but you know, a cute pair of jeans helps. Like, and so I love empowering my clients with their external self, because I know it helps their internal self. Okay, I feel great. Thank you. And it's like, that is so fun for me. And like, and tapping into like, you know, I'm not like a paint by numbers kind of gal. I'll meet someone.
What do you mean?
Like, there isn't like one specific look that I put on all my clients. Like, it's not like the rack's the same. When I meet someone, I go deep into them and try to find out who they are and what does that look like. And so that's kind of been such a gift in my life to get to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I see my work as a gift to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Because I get deeply fulfilled by it. Because I even though I say there's the separation, but I'm always thinking about it because I work with wonderful people, you know, and like, of course, not everybody's great all the time, but show me one job that is. And so I think so highly of work because I very much enjoy it. So I get a lot of fulfillment from it as well.
What legacy do you hope to leave?
That I was kind and that I was like thought of fondly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are kind and you are thought of fondly.
Oh, that's good.
And all of the things. What do you desire to do for the next decade of your life?
I desire to make a huge impact in the way periods are thought about in the world from three aspects, a triangle of nonprofits, business, and government. I think that within a decade we could eradicate period poverty and that the world will be a better place because of it. Every drop of data shows you what happens when a girl has period products.
Yeah.
It's like it's just the biggest win there could be. And what instinctually I know is that if a young boy is taught that something that typically we say people period because we acknowledge as a company that it's not just women who get periods. But if you look at the world, there's so much violence against women and people who period.
Yeah.
And that perhaps if we started a conversation early about the huge amount of respect that people's bodies and the autonomy over their own bodies and the kind of just the health indicator and what a period does is taught in a way that isn't filled with shame. Perhaps we can start to move past a world of anger and violence towards women. But that takes all sorts of institutions to understand and just to acknowledge, just like take all this nonsense out of it. Like all these stories that have been historically written about them, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that'll be part of what I do for the next 10 years.
Bang,
and
bang, bang.
Bang, bang, bang.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
I love you so much.
I love you so much too.
That was beautiful.
Yay. Yay.